Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, all y'all. Welcome to the Girl George and the Dragons radio show. That was George and the Arizona Star doing a song by Captain America in Nashville. And probably everyone in Nashville was on that record. Pete Drake produced it, and Bucky Wilkins played on a lot of them, and everybody was on. Were you on that too, Zack?
No, but Bucky Wilkins and his mother were the first publishers for Chris Christopherson and me and Chris Gantry.
Yeah, this is Zack Van Arsdale, my old friend from Nashville, and her name was Mary John Wilkins, right?
Right. Mhm.
Right, and she did Long Black Veil. She was one of the writers of Long Black Veil.
And she wrote One Day at a Time, so she wrote that with Chris.
Well, Bucky used to hang out with us. He used to sleep on our, well, he didn't sleep. He would write on our floor, because I said, well, you're such a great writer, write something. And so he'd lay on our carpet at that little carriage house we were in, and he'd lay on the carpet, and he would write songs. And he wrote a whole album that won Stars on My Jeans and all those. He wrote a whole album, and he made a record out of it. It was great. It was really great. He gave me one copy of it, and then he went in there and he burned the tapes. It was a great record.
Pretty wild back then. He also, when he was younger, about 19, he did Little GTO.
Yeah, I know. I think he wrote that when he was 16.
16? Yeah.
Yeah, and then his mother drug him around the world, so he wasn't too really fond of being on stage. You'd put him on stage, he'd turn his back to the audience. He wasn't really that you know, he hated the stage. He'd go up there, but he hated it. Just like Chris, when Chris first started, Chris was scared to death on stage. He used to shake, he'd be so scared. For years, he was scared to death on stage. So was I when I first started, for years and years and years. How about you?
Oh, boy.
When you first started, were you scared?
I remember that somebody just said, have 3 shots of Jack Daniels and go do it.
Well, that'll help.
I quit doing that, though, because it hit me all at once, you know.
Well, I never did drink, so I never had that. I used to smoke cigarettes like crazy. That's why I had laryngitis for 30 years, 40 years, and I had to quit smoking. So I quit smoking 18 years ago. So I actually sound better now than I did then.
I remember you guys doing that song, I think, at the Red Dog Saloon. You, Girl George and Arizona Star.
Yeah,
Everywhere you went,
I love
it was like the Rolling Stones or something.
It was
Big
like
hit
the
in
Circus King
Nashville.
to town, right?
I know Chris Christopherson liked you a lot. I remember Bucky over at your carriage house, Bucky Wilkin and Chris Gantry, and you guys coming over to Combine Music to see Chris Christopherson and who else was over there at that time?
Joan Baez.
I know Bob Beckham ran Combine Music, but I never thought it was going to explode like it did.
Well, I don't know about the business stuff. You know, I left in 73. I never did get together with business too. I'm more just going out there and playing.
I'm trying to think of that name, Mickey Newberry. I don't know if anyone remembers.
Mickey Newberry was around that time. Eddie Rabbit and the Crazy Cajun. The Crazy Cajun, what was his name?
Doug Kershaw.
Doug Kershaw, yeah, that's who started hanging around with Doug Kershaw.
What was that guy named Taz or something from the Lovin' Spoonful?
Who?
Taz? The guy that was in that group.
Zolly? Zolly. The guitar player, Zol.
No, this was T-A-Z, I think, Taz. He played for Chris Christopherson for a while in the early band.
That's Zolly, no, Z-A-L. He was a guitar player. He played with Chris for Zol. Zolly Yaskowski.
Yeah, that's what we call him, Zol.
Now, I met him before. I met him before I met Chris. I knew him in San Francisco back in 1967 when I was with him the night that they broke up. That the whole bus thing was there.
Yeah, he played.
And so they broke up, and then I
Taz
think Chris
actually
played with him.
This guy named Taz, he played for Charlie Daniels. I'm sorry about that.
Well,
I remember Zal. I got a Z in there. Like
yeah,
Zack.
Zolly was the guitar player with the Spoonfuls. And then he ended up playing with Chris. He played with him at the L. Wright White thing, that big concert. And he played with him at the boarding house in San Francisco. I ran into him there with him.
Yeah, if you were in L.A., then you might have been in the audience there when Chris played the Troubadour. I was there, and Ramblin' Jack Elliott was there, and Phil Spector.
Well, I was in Berkeley and San Francisco at that time, so.
Okay.
At in those years, I seen him at the University of California. He played auditorium there, maybe the Greek Theater or something, and then he played the boarding house, places like that around San Francisco. I didn't get to L.A. until later, like 1983, right when the punk thing was going big. So I was into the punk thing very. They're making a movie about the punk scene. Okay, did somebody produce you then, like Ron Halfkind? I'm trying to remember.
Oh,
Ron was with Dr. Hook. Was
but he
Dr.
didn't ever
Hook's
produce
producer.
you guys?
Yeah, he produced us. See, Shel Silverstein saw us as Red Dog. Well, Shel, when we first came to town, we ran into Shel at the Ramada Inn. We went there because we heard Johnny Cash was there. So we were going to go see Johnny Cash. So we were sitting there, and Star was drawing this picture. And Shel came over to us, and we had no idea who he was. And he comes over, and he says, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, she's drawing our album cover." And he puts it up next to his ear, and he says, "I don't hear anything." And I hated the motherfucker. And then he says, "Oh, can I help you? I'm an artist." I says, "Well, if you got some colors, that'd be cool, but I want her to draw it." And so he hated me. He thought, "How dare you not know who I am?" So he hated me for years. And when I met Vince Matthews, he hated me too. I don't know if I said something to him. But Vince got over it real fast, and we became real good friends. And so a couple years later, Vince drug Shel in to see us play at the Red Dog. By then, it was probably Calamity Jane's, but same place. So he brought him in to see us, and Shel, afterward, he dragged me aside. He says, "I apologize for everything I ever thought of you, and you know what that was." He says, "I haven't been so impressed by an act since I seen Elvis the first time. And it's not a matter of if you're going to make it, but when." He says, "You shouldn't be with Pete because Pete is too country, and you're not country. You know, you should be with Shel Silverstein. You should be with Ron Halfkin. He handles Dr. Hook, which are freaks, and you're a freak. So you would do good with him." So he talked to Ron Halfkin, which was also his producer, and he signed us over the phone. And so we came back out to San Francisco because they were based in San Francisco, which is where we came from. And he put us out on the road with Dr. Hook, and we were playing with Chuck Berry and Stevie Wonder right in the middle of their set. Dennis would ramble on about, we ran into a couple of people at this party, and they knew us from back in the Army or something, and they wanted to jam with us. So here they are, George and the Arizona Star, and we come out with me with a sword on and high boots, and Star half naked eating a banana, and we come out and do our song that I wrote about Star going, "I'm going to hitchhike down to Mexico on a watermelon truck and be a Latin movie star." And then she'd throw the banana at the audience and would dance around. I'd take off my sword and throw it across the stage. And 9 years, the road manager would catch a sword in the air, and then I'd do a flip, and then it would end. But in the meantime, on the break, the drummer would get off the drums. He'd be playing around the stage on the floor, and they'd just go completely crazy. And that was the middle of their set. That's what we did.
You're bringing the house down in Nashville. It was like you brought Haight-Ashbury to Music Row.
Yeah, that's all we were was hippies. Do what hippies do is whatever.
You were, I don't know if it's the right word, that's terrible, an English major, unabashed or something. We weren't used to that. Old
well,
Tilt
you had
Boogie
been
or whatever, you know.
then.
Yeah.
San Francisco was all about being just whatever, you know, being as far as you could get.
I wanted to remind you about the Dr. Hook song.
Oh, you wrote one for Dr. Hook, didn't you?
Yeah, I wrote a song, the last song they had out, and before they broke up, it was called Written in the Stars. And it's on YouTube with Ray singing it, and it looks like 25 or 30,000 people, maybe more, in Sweden. And they're all singing it and waving their hands back and forth. It was written in the stars, and it's amazing. It's quite an amazing video all by itself.
Yeah, you've written a lot of songs for people. You wrote for Jerry Lee. Who else did you write for?
Well, the old Marty Robbins legend and Jerry Lee Lewis, like you said. I worked for Waylon Jennings right during the Outlaw, when it happened, you know, the beginning era of it, when it was real.
Yeah, you were right there with it. You were all part of it.
I was employed by them.
Vince Matthews.
Yeah.
Matthews, I wish he was still around. I loved him. He was sweet.
Oh, everybody loved him. He took me out to Johnny Cash's house one day, and that's why I'll never forget him. It's quite a great thing to go out there and have Johnny Cash come to the door with a blonde wig on. He came to the door with June Carter's wig on and said, "Hello." Nobody knew that Johnny Cash was a prankster, you know. He was quite funny. But that was really good to see that on YouTube. Somebody from Sweden sent it to me and said, "You wrote this song, so we wanted to send it to you."
Well, I'm going to have to find it and go put it up on the Dr. Hook's page.
Yeah, so I'm friends with Linda Sawyer and Ray.
That's cool. Where are they at now?
I didn't look, but you can look it up on Facebook.
Well, he's still touring. I keep seeing tour dates on him, so he's still touring.
Yeah.
And Dennis is still touring somewhere else. I think they do Sweden a lot.
You know, everybody mistakenly thought that he was Dr. Hook. Almost.
I know.
That
was very confusing because he had the patch on his face, on his eye, so they assumed that's Dr. Hook. Right. But Dennis did most of the singing that people remember, you know, like Sylvia's mother and 16. She was only 16. He had that voice that was just fucking amazing. But everyone just assumed that Dennis was the one that was doing that singing.
Right, Dennis was.
That Ray was the one doing the singing, but Ray is the one that was singing "Cover of the Rolling Stones." He did most of it. They all sang on it, but he did most of it.
He was the singer.
So he does have the biggest number they did under his belt.
So they thought "Written in the Stars." It was. This isn't blowing smoke or whatever they call that, but it was really going to be their next hit, and then they broke up. They were already singing it and already recorded it, you know. So the only...
Did you ever know Shadow Morton?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, he's a real famous.
No.
He's the one that wrote Leader of the Pack, in fact. And he
I like that song.
A lot of Blood, Sweat, and Tears back. I ran into him at the Grammys. I snuck in the Grammys. I went there, and somebody in the parking lot knew us from the Pancake Man and said, "You got tickets?" I said, "No." And he says, "Well, come on with me." And he had a whole handful of tickets because he had just went out to get some cigars out of the car. And so we walked in the door. He just flashed his ticket. He said, "See you later, George." And so then I was inside, and I ran into Shadow Morton there. He says, "You want to go to a party, afterwards?" And I said, "Sure." And so we went to a party, and Ringo Starr was there, and Nielsen Schmielsen was there. It was at the King of the Road Hotel. They had a suite up there.
That place rocked. I don't know if you've been there, right?
Well, this was at after the Grammys. You remember the Grammys?
Yeah, but that hotel was. I met so many people there, like Wilson Pickett, and it
Wow.
And Gordon
Well, that's the only
Lightfoot
time
and
I was
Waylon,
ever there was that one night. That was fun.
Yeah, everybody would have a room, and the place would just, Wilson would leave his door open, and everybody could go in, and he'd be picking and singing and playing. And you'd never imagine Waylon Jennings and Gordon Lightfoot running together, but they did, and people like Roger Miller, something. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, Roger Miller was one of the boys.
Boy, he would go for
boys, just a good
without
boy.
resting,
Were you ever at our carriage house?
Yes, I was there a few times. I went in there because I knew you had a loft, and it was you in Arizona lived there. But I remember Chris being there, too, so he must have just been stopping by.
Well, everyone came by there. It was just a place to hang out. Everyone had lived there at one time or another. It was one of those places they passed on. And the upstairs was kind of like a loft because it was an attic, and they made a room out of it. And Star stayed up there, and I stayed downstairs, which was a front room / my room. And then they had a little kitchenette and a bathroom and everything. And everyone used to come over there and jam. One time these guys came over, and they had this guy all tied up with a pillowcase over his head. And once he heard us, he knew he was okay because they had kidnapped him. And he was asleep, and they had put a pillowcase over his head and tied him up and threw him in a car. And he thought he was dead until he heard our voice because they brought him over to our house. And he heard us, and he knew he was okay, that it was a joke.
I want to tell you about a party. When I was in L.A., I only knew Chris, so I'd run around with Chris and his band, and, Billy Swan, like you said, Eddie Rabbit, and anyway, he said, come on, let's go to a party. And I said, we were both at the Continental, and I said, hotel. So I said, yeah, and I jumped in the car with him. And we went down to the Rainbow Bar and Grill. Of course, you've heard of that.
Yeah, I know it.
Since you're from L.A. there. And outside the door, there was a big black guy that you had to get permission from to get in, like a bouncer type guy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and standing next to him was Jack Nicholson in a high school jacket, the leather sleeves.
Cool, I love him.
Yeah, so Jack was there, but I got in with Chris. When I went inside, there was a big cake with a rocket on top of it. So maybe you know whose birthday party it was from that. They were playing Rocket Man. Elton John's birthday party. And Joni Mitchell was there, Sally Struthers, and like I said, Jack Nicholson, Barry Mann, and I said, look at that beautiful blonde girl with Elton. And Chris says, "Oh, go talk to her. Elton doesn't care. He doesn't care about girls, So I said, okay. So he had to let me know that. And so I went over there and made friends with the blonde girl that was actually hired to be his date, like from a modeling agency, But that place was rocking that night. Let's see, that's about everybody I can remember that was there. Joni Mitchell. But
I went to this party once up above Sunset, and Sam Kinison, the comedian, was there, and all these comics were sitting around the kitchen table, and they had this pile of Coke in the middle of the table. It looked like somebody had dumped a sugar bowl in the middle of the table, and they didn't care what else was going on. They just doing the Coke and yapping. Comedians riff off each other, and they just went
and everybody's
on
talking at the same time.
Oh, yeah. If you're on speed, you don't care. You're not listening to anyone.
I remember being in a room with people like that in L.A., and I've noticed I had a moment of clarity. I shut up, and I looked around. Everybody was talking. Nobody was listening. There was a guy,
frightening.
There's a guy singing. Nobody's listening, and everybody talking, and that's what that would remind me of, all those comedians, all going at the same time.
I used to play when I first got to LA in '83. They had an open mic at the Improv, and I used to sing at it. That's where I wrote "Johnny Got a Herpes" at. And Robin Williams used to come in at about 1:00 every night, and they'd throw him up there, and he'd step there for a half hour, an hour, and just spin off and riff and just make up stuff, ad lib. That's where he practiced.
Yeah, I got to thank Chris Starfson for taking me to parties, and he took me to a kind of a Beatles session. It was just Ringo Starr and George Harrison, but half the Beatles.
Cool.
Yeah, that was
You
really
never
cool.
met the other two?
Sunset Sound Studios. No, I don't think they could come to the United States then. They had both been in some kind of trouble. Like Paul got caught in Japan, and John got caught doing something, so he couldn't get in the United States just during that brief period of time. But as that session was going, there was all kinds of people there. Let's see, Ringo and the band, and Rhonda Fleming.
What is Billy Swan
doing
doing now?
there.
What is Billy Swan doing now? I haven't seen him in years.
I've seen him, but I just see him and he gets up and he does I Can Help, at kind of a reunion type, reminiscing type shows. But he's cool. He's a good guy,
Yeah, I used to run into him all the time. He said,
"Oh, yeah,
how
I'm
can you
glad
always
you
look the
mentioned."
same and I get older? Because I look pretty much the same. But every time I'd see him, like 10 years apart, he said, how can you always look the same?
Right. There's an Outlaw resurgence thing, October 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's only about a half an hour from here in Kentucky. And I think I'm playing on that, even though they did not confirm me yet, because they said, shoot me a price. And so I shot them a high price, knowing you could always come down,
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of people there. Billy Joe Shaver, you've heard him, right?
Playing out here lately.
Oh, he's playing everywhere. He's happening. And anyway, Terry Jennings asked me to, Waylon's son might be the one. He's booking me anyway. But they haven't confirmed me, I must be clear. But there's a lot of Outlaw stuff happening again in Nashville. And I think I'm going to jump in and do it. I've been asked to do that. So I'll do my...
Go for it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, Waylon did 3 of my songs, and I worked for him for 3 or 4 years. One of the Outlaws was Jessie Coulter. She recorded one of my songs.
And she's still around?
They're trying to get my song released as singles. Never thought I'd ever be an outlaw, and Born Too Late. Terry says that they've never been put out, see. So the things that haven't been put out by Waylon, I mean, one of them was in a movie, and I think, did you make the video for Born Too Late? I think you did. I want to ride shotgun.
I think I just did it for that one about the Scarecrow.
Oh, you did too.
I did? Oh, I don't remember. Maybe I did. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
No, I don't know who did it. No, somebody
I don't know. I'm editing so many of these radio shows that my eyes are going out on me. And so
maybe you did. Never thought I'd ever be an outlaw.
I don't think I did.
Too.
I think it was just the Scarecrow one. And then I did that one that was connected to the radio show that was about Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Rockin' Jerry Lee. I love that song. Oh, I love Jerry Lee. And you sound like Jerry Lee on it.
Yeah, the Sympathetic Scarecrow song that I wrote, theme song of a movie being put out in Europe called The Philosopher King. And it's on Facebook, The Philosopher King. And it says that Sympathetic Scarecrow is the theme song of the movie. And they actually paid me already.
That's good. Well, that means
we are having a resurgence. things happening. I'm busy all the time, working all the time and recording. I've got 2 major albums on CD, baby. One is All the Above, and the other one's Radio Ready.
So all they have to look for is Zack Van Arsdale, right?
Yes, on CD, baby, or Reverb Nation, or
Or
Facebook.
they could find you on Facebook, and you get hookups to everything else, right?
Right, and I see you on Facebook all the time, Girl George
I'm
Radio
all over
Show.
the place.
Or do you call it Geo Girl? How do you pronounce that?
Well. See, it's Girlgeo because that's the only way they'll let me put it on Facebook. It was spelled Girrl because they wouldn't let me use girl, but then they changed it where I could use Girlgeo if I ran it together. So it's Girlgeo, and then I needed last name, so I just added Rocker, and it went. I tried Dragon, and they wouldn't let me use it. I tried Dragon Slayer, and they said, So I tried Rocker. I mean, obviously that ain't a real name, but they put it through. So it's kind of just descriptive of what I am anyway, so it was okay.
That's great.
So it's Girl George Rocker.
For me, you just type in Zack Van Arsdale on Facebook or Reverb Nation or YouTube or CD Baby.
Yeah. And we'll find you wherever you are.
You will see 2 new videos by Girlgeo. What's the name of your production company, Dragon?
DragonSlayerProctions.
By DragonSlayerProctions. Productions. Very well done.
My daughter thought up that name, and it works real well. It looks good.
Good with the
Girl
sword.
George and the Dragons with the sword. That kind of works, right? So
it looks like
together.
A vivacious dragon slayer with a sword.
And Girl George Radio is GGR, and Girl George Rocker is GGR. So that kind of worked too. It was an accident, but they work together. Okay, thank you for being on my show again, Zack. And I will be talking to you again. Thank you for having me on, Girl George, or Girlgeo. Girl George. I appreciate it. Girl George. Okay, this is the Girl George and the Dragons Radio Show. See you later, alligator. Adios, y'all.